Hey, Jeff Carlisi here from 38 Special, and we're rocking it up right here with Traders Nation.
Welcome back. You are tuned in to Traders Nation. My pleasure to have with us here today Chris Moschovitis. He's author of Cybersecurity Program Development for Business, the Essential Planning Guide. This is the stuff you need to know. Chris, welcome to Traders Nation. How are you today?
Hi, I'm fine. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So companies, Chris, large and small, they face this threat, okay, to their data, really, every single day. How serious is a cyber threat?
They couldn't be more serious. I think it's the most serious threat we're facing as business people today, and it's the most serious threat we're facing as individuals and also as a country.
Sure.
This is absolutely critical stuff.
Right. So the bad guys, I'm just going to call them bad guys for now. They could be probably 1,000 different names for sure, right? They're literally out there every nanosecond of the day trying to purge and get into our data. That's worth a lot of money to them, isn't it? Millions, if not billions.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's billions, if not trillions.
Yeah.
Organized crime has moved into the cyberspace right now, and there is no question that the reason why they have done that, it is A, easier, and B, safer. There is no need to be running around with guns shooting up people when you can be in some interesting little country somewhere around the world and hacking up Citibank.
Sure. And literally, they could be on a beach somewhere, anywhere. Right. And they could be pinging anybody's account that they wish that think they can get into. Correct.
That's right, and the important thing to recognize here is that they need to be successful just once, versus us who are playing defense need to be successful all the time. As you can imagine, these are not odds that you can play. This is just not going to happen. So if you are the target of an advanced, persistent threat, it's not a question of when, of if. It's a question of when. You will be hacked. So you got to be ready. You have to plan for this. You got to understand what the risks are. You got to understand the value of your assets, how to protect them, what kind of controls to deploy, and make a reasonable strategy to protect your business.
Right. So having said that, every business, doesn't matter the size, does it? They should have some type of plan in place, not only to protect their data, but if they ever get breached, if you will, what do they have to do after that? Your thoughts, Chris?
Well, they certainly have to have a plan to restore the data if they're breached. There's no doubt about that. And you're right. You're absolutely right. Every business needs to have a plan, no matter how small. And small and mid-sized businesses represent extraordinarily attractive targets, not only because the value of the data that they themselves contain, but they can be jumping places to even bigger and bigger targets. Remember, speaking of targets, the way that they got into Target was by hacking the air conditioning supplier. And they were able to hack the air conditioning supplier, use that as a staging ground to go in and go through all of these kinds of subsystems. So the point of the matter is that small and mid-sized businesses have partners with all sorts of businesses and governments, and by compromising one, you can get a foothold, get information that potentially becomes critical in establishing a foothold to an even bigger and bigger system.
I can't help but ask, do we trust the cloud because they have potentially better firewalls between their data and the bad guys, or should we keep this stuff local? I don't know. What's a good idea here, Chris?
There is no single good answer. Remember that what the cloud is essentially your server in somebody else's office.
Right.
That's what the cloud is. Okay,
Right.
So the cloud has tremendous advantages. It has enabled us to have extraordinary advantages: scalability, affordability, all sorts of things that you can only get into the cloud with the power of aggregation and the power of flexibility that it represents. So yes, absolutely, moving to the cloud makes excellent business sense, and it is also unavoidable. But you're right, putting it in the cloud creates a very large threat surface area, right? Because it's not just your stuff that's on the cloud, it's everybody else's that's on the cloud. So you may be collateral damage to an attack that's happening on somebody else. Everything is a question of how much is this worth it to you, what's your risk profile, does it make sense to be on the cloud, does it make sense to be on premises. So you have to make an individual decision based on your business about where your data needs to be. Some businesses can't afford even the slightest internet outage. And if you have an internet outage and your stuff is on the cloud, goodbye stuff. You're not going to get to them. So some businesses like to have these kinds of data available to them on premise so they can get to it all the time.
I think companies need to wise up, and I'm sure some, and a lot have, they need to really sit down and think this through, as much as they would think their business plan through when it comes to their data and their security, because years ago, cash was king, but cash is no longer king. Data's king here. So these companies...
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so these companies need to really sit down and think through how they're going to store their data and where it's going to be stored at. So let me ask you, these attackers, what are they after, man? Are they after data? Are they looking after electronically bringing a company down? There's a lot of various things that they could be doing. What are they trying to do?
Well, it depends. There's hackers that are after the money. There's hackers that are after fame. There's hackers that are after terrorism. There's nation states that are after espionage and compromise. So the motives vary. So different businesses represent different, they are under different threat.
Yeah.
If you are a business, if you're Monsanto, you could be the victim of cyber terrorism of eco-terrorists because they think that Monsanto is polluting the planet. If you are a pharma, you could receive the same thing. You're not giving your drugs for free, so I am a social activist and I will hack you and I'm going to release all your extremely expensive recipes to the world for everybody to manufacture for free, and so on and so forth. Those kinds of breaches are billions, if not trillions. Can you imagine if the secret formula of a drug gets released into the black market for anybody to produce? Years and years and years worth of development and R&D just got flushed down the toilet.
And there's countries out there that would turn around, rogue countries, if you will, would turn around and manufacture that. They would, right?
Oh, of course they would. They would in a heartbeat. They would manufacture that. And and speaking of rogue countries, don't forget where we are with espionage and compromise of our democracy. I mean, every day it's in the news about what happened with Russia, what's happening with China, what's happening with all sorts of different countries, with Korea, North Korea. Yeah. So there is clear and present danger when it comes to that as well. And part of it has to do with the fact that people in Washington are clueless about this. You have senators talking to Zuckerberg and say, hey, so how do you make money? I mean, a 12-year-old kid will tell you how they make money, and the senator is asking Zuckerberg in a meeting how you're making money. That's embarrassing.
I agree.
So we have state representatives and federal representatives that have no idea about this, yet they're trying to pass legislation on this, and we are at risk. And this is the thing that people don't understand. The cybersecurity is not about technology; it's about risk. IT is technology, and IT generates value every single day. Cybersecurity protects value. Yeah. Those two things are two parallel tracks that we all are riding on. They can't report into one another. And the easy statement that people say, oh, IT is going to take care of that. My IT people are dealing with that. No, your IT people cannot deal with that because that's a conflict of interest. You're asking your IT people to make you money, and then you're asking the same people to protect your money? Yeah. How's that going to work?
Well, that's a great point, because let's face it, there's probably 1,000 different types of attorneys. I need a real estate attorney. I need a attorney for whatever, right? Personal injury.
Absolutely.
You need an attorney. So each attorney has their own specific areas. Same thing with these data engineers. All right, so we're almost out of time here. What's the best way for companies to protect themselves in the future?
Develop a cybersecurity program, understand what's at risk, deploy controls in a defense of theft strategy, and stay active on this. This is a living program. This is not a checklist. This is not a once and done. This is the new normal. Get with it, protect your stuff, keep moving forward in a safe and pragmatic way.
Yeah. All right. Where can we get a copy of Cybersecurity Program Development for Business?
You can get it everywhere. Amazon is a good place, and any bookstore. It's published by Wiley, and it's a great book. Will help you make these things happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. Fantastic book. I think every business, every person should have a copy of this in their library. That's for sure. Hey, Chris, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it.
The pleasure is mine. Talk to you soon.
You bet. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back.